It's time for all the news you need and more. Brookland is Live starts right now.
Alrighty, welcome in. It is Monday, August 3rd, 2026, and it is good to be with you. I'm Jackson Mitchell. A lot going on, a lot to talk about. We do have some breaking news that's literally coming in just a few moments ago about Jeanine Pirro, her role as attorney for the District of Columbia, the United States Attorney, the news about the reflecting poll, the president speaking about that just moments ago in the Oval Office as he just wrapped up taking questions. It is good to be with you. I am Jackson Mitchell on this Monday, August 3rd. We are going to start with the news out of Iran, the reflecting poll drama. It's coming up, so stick with us. We're just getting new information about the war in Iran. As over the weekend, I mean, things quite literally got really dramatic, and we're now learning that talks could be back in play here for the war in Iran. So take a look at some of the footage that we have for you. So a dramatic weekend turn in the Iran war, and now what has become what I would call a fast-moving Monday to match it all. President Trump says he called off a planned assault on Iran's energy infrastructure Saturday night, when he describes as what, quote, would have been the biggest attack since World War II, after Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE urged him to hold off. Trump says the move follows progress toward a deal that would include the, quote, immediate, complete, and total opening of the Strait of Hormuz, but Iran is telling a quite literally different story. Iran's foreign minister says there are, quote, no plans to receive or send a negotiating delegation today, directly contradicting Trump's claim that talks would begin this afternoon. A live look at the White House, because just moments ago, President Trump pushed back hard on that denial, taking questions from the Oval Office.
Thank you, ladies, for what you do for our service members in this country.
Right.
Mr. President, are the talks with Iran now off and are airstrikes?
No, they're on. They're going on right now. It's an amazing thing. We have a little problem with Iran because we have many talks, and we'll say we have or we don't have. You know, we're straight about it. But they deny, but they're not denying it now. They just put out a statement not denying it. But for some reason, when they're talking, they don't like saying that they're talking. So I say, we're in talks. Big deal, we're in talks. And they'll sometimes deny it, even though they spend hours and hours together talking. No, the talks are going along. We're going to hit them very hard yesterday, very, very hard, harder than any attack. I think I can say, General, from a point of knowledge, any attack since World War II. That's pretty big. And we were set to go, and they called. And in addition, Saudi Arabia called, and UAE called, Qatar called. I called some numerous people. I don't want to use the word begging, but some were, in particular, Iran did not want to be hit. And they said, we want to talk. We want to talk about the Strait, but more importantly, from my standpoint, we want to talk about the denuclearization of Iran, because it's what it's all about. This is why I'm doing this. And it should have been done. It's now 50 years. We keep saying 47 years, but 3 years have gone by. But it's for 50 years that other presidents should have been doing or other countries. Didn't have to be us, but other countries. And nobody did it, and it was time, and we hit them hard with the B-2s more than a year ago now, and that knocked out their capability, their potential capability. We've done a great job, but when we talk, we say we're talking. If we're not talking, when you ask me, no, we're not talking, I'll say it. But we are talking right now, we're talking, and we're talking at the request of Iran, backed by Saudi Arabia.
So there you go, President Trump weighing in on all of that there. Now, Trump called Iran's leaders, quote, unbelievably, duplicitous, and insisted talks are underway, quote, whether Iran wants to admit to it or not. It's kind of similar to what he said there, while maintaining the U.S. will keep its naval blockade in place until, quote, a deal or total surrender is accomplished. In the situation did escalate again just hours ago as Iran's Revolutionary Guard says its Air Force intercepted and shot down a U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone over the Strait of Hormuz earlier today during using an advanced air defense system. So this is something new that we're learning about, a direct challenge to Trump's repeated claim that the U.S., quote, is in full control of the waterway, even as ship traffic through the economically vital strait remains struck at a fraction of its pre-war levels. Now, this would mark at least the third time Trump has announced he's calling off strikes, only to see tensions flare back up days later. Now, the war enters its 157th day today, and that's the question that even the president was asked in the Oval Office today. How long is this going to go? We've seen several other deals, several other parameters of a deal announced, and then a day later, a few days later, a week later, strikes begin once again. Specifically, just weeks ago, if you remember the Memorandum of Understanding, or the MOU that was announced between Iran, the United States, it broke like a week into it, not even a week into it, I believe. So it is something to keep watching for. And the question again continues to remain, how long is all of this going to last? Alrighty, now to this developing story, this one out of Ceuta, where a humanitarian crisis is unfolding at the border between Morocco and Spain. Spanish authorities say at least 67 people have died after around 40,000 migrants breached the border into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Over the past few days, one of the largest single border surges Europe has seen in years. Thousands swam across breakwaters or crossed on foot along the shoreline, overwhelming the small Spanish territory on Africa's northern coast. In Melilla, I believe I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but I apologize, Spain's other North African enclave, between 300 and 400 people crossed there or attempted to cross. This all happening last week on Thursday. Ceuta's 80,000 residents are largely confined to their homes as stores remain closed and emergency services are well stretched thin now across the territory. Take a look at some of the video from it all. You see just the amount of people overwhelming the authorities that they have there. Spain's Guardia Civil Police Associations says there were simply too few officers to monitor the border fence during the surge, with some units describing themselves as overwhelmed within the first few hours. Now, Spain's territorial policy minister points to a recent Spanish Supreme Court ruling that migrants intercepted at sea cannot be summarily returned to Morocco as a possible factor driving the surge. Now, since it removed one of the main deterrents that had kept crossing numbers lower in recent years, about 48,000 people have already voluntarily returned to Morocco, according to Spanish officials, though the border itself remains uncontrolled and authorities cannot say how many people are still inside. So Ceuta waiting to be processed, still inside Ceuta waiting to be processed here. Now autopsies are underway to determine how exactly those 67 victims did die, with officials saying most appear to have drowned attempting the water crossing the breakwaters. So interesting story there, and it's something that we are going to keep our eyes on. Again, this has been a days-long story. People crossing the border into Morocco, simply overwhelming some of those communities there. In the video there, you can see not enough people to get it under control. And you heard there officials saying that they were simply overwhelmed within the first few hours of all of this. So we've got a special 2-hour show. If I haven't already said this, we are going to be with you guys for 2 hours, so stick with this, because when we come back, a shooting in Yorktown out of New York, we're now learning that it all had to do with teens. 1 dead, 4 teens injured in all of that. Plus, Lindsay Clancy, the woman accused of killing her 3 children, well, her trial now entering its 2nd week. Last week, the 911 call was revealed, plus doctors now testifying today. We're going to bring you that and more coming up right here in just a few moments. Stick with us. You're watching Brookland News Live. Well, welcome back into Brooklyn News Live. A look right now at some breaking news that we are continuing to follow as it continues to come in. 1 dead, 14 wounded in a targeted Yonkers, New York shooting. A New York neighborhood is now rattled after this targeted shooting left 1 man dead and again 4 teenagers wounded. This all happening on Sunday night. Yonkers police say 5 people were struck by gunfire. All happening around 8:43 p.m. near Elm Street and Palisade Avenue. A 20-year-old man was shot in the back and pronounced dead at the scene. The 4 surviving victims are ages 14, 2 at the age of 15, and 16 remain hospitalized. They are in critical but stable condition. A 16-year-old, that last number, not that 16 people remain hospitalized. Wanted to clarify that confusion. A press conference held earlier today on all of this. Take a listen.
August 2nd, in the area of Elm and Palisade Avenue. 5 victims were struck by gunfire, including a 20-year-old male who's pronounced deceased after suffering a gunshot wound to the back. The remaining 4 victims, ages 16, 15, 15, and 14, sustained gunshot wounds and remain hospitalized in critical but stable condition. A 15-year-old male suspect was taken into custody at the scene. Investigators also recovered a loaded firearm and ballistic evidence. We believe this was the sole suspect and this was a targeted incident, and there is no ongoing threat to the public. This investigation remains active. Additional information will be released as it becomes available.
So you hear police there saying additional information will be released. Now, we do know that police did take a 15-year-old boy into custody at the scene and recovered a loaded firearm and ballistic evidence. Now, investigators say the shooting appears targeted and they do not believe there is an ongoing threat to the public. Now, though it all remains here, if all 5 victims were intended targeted as the investigation continues. You hear the police there saying that more information will be released when it becomes available. So it's something that we're going to continue to follow because of the fact that it is crazy that 14s were injured and a 15-year-old has been arrested. And if you remember, just earlier last week, a 15-year-old was arrested in that Seattle shooting. We're going to provide you guys an update on that coming up here in just a few moments, so stick with us for that. Alrighty, we do want to turn to another developing story. This one is out of Massachusetts. We are continuing to follow the trial of Lindsay Clancy as the murder trial resumed for its 2nd week. This all happening at Plymouth Superior Court today, with jurors hearing for the first time from emergency room doctors who treated Clancy and her children on the night of the killings. Now, Clancy is accused of killing her 3 children. The prosecution here claims it was all purposeful. She did it all on purpose. Now, the defense claims that she was mentally incapacitated and could not control herself. Now, that this all building on a gut-wrenching first week of testimony, including the 911 call that was revealed with her ex-husband Patrick made after finding their 3 children strangled in the basement of their Duxbury home. This is all happening back in January of 2023. In that 911 call, it was played in court but not released to the public. At one moment, he says, whether the father of the children, the husband of Lindsay Clancy, says, quote, "She killed the kids." Patrick told the dispatcher on the call, which a judge again allowed prosecutors to play for jurors. It was not released publicly. Now, Lindsay Clancy sobbed openly in court as it all was played, and jurors were also seen sobbing by reporters inside the courtroom. Clancy has pleaded not guilty, with again her defense arguing she had severe postpartum psychosis, which left her unable to distinguish right from wrong. Now, prosecutor Shannon Buckingham told jurors in her opening statement that, quote, "Clancy acted intentionally, rationally, and swiftly to accomplish a very specific goal: to kill," and has argued she was not in the throes of the psychosis. Jurors also visited the family's former home last week, walking through the house where the killings took place. Now, the trial is expected to last 6 to 8 weeks, with Clancy facing life in prison if convicted. So just moments in court that it's so emotional. I'll tell you, if you watch it throughout the day, it is hard to watch. Alrighty, in a story that is happening right now, Kohberger, the Idaho College accused killer Brian Kohberger, now claiming that he's innocent and wants to withdraw his guilty plea days after Netflix released a documentary on the case. Now, on a new phone interview with the New York Times from prison, Kohberger said he wants to withdraw his 2025 plea, which he calls, quote, hinged on false promises and blatant disinformation. Now, Koberger pleaded guilty last year to killing 4 University of Idaho college students to avoid the death penalty. Now, Netflix's The Idaho Murders, a College Nightmare, and a companion episode of Allegedly with Ellison Barber dig into the red flags Washington State University allegedly missed while Koberger worked there as a teaching assistant. Take a look at a piece from this podcast with Ellison Barber, who's also a reporter at NBC News.
When I do think about Brian Koberger, though, I just see somebody who's weak, like weak in every possible way. I think he knew he was not very smart. He knew he was not good enough, and he saw 4 people who were everything that he could not be. 4 people who were bright, who were well-liked, who were by all accounts loving and genuine and happy people. And he was just Brian with a Y, a weird guy nobody enjoyed being around. And I think about what Kaylee's dad said when he was giving his victim impact statement at sentencing. He said to Brian Koberger directly, people care about this, and the world is watching because people care about the kids, not you.
So the Gonzalez family released a scathing statement comparing Koberger to, quote, a mosquito you can't seem to swat. Now, legal experts say his bid faces long odds given his sworn statements and signed appeal waiver. So all something to watch here. Again, Brian Koberger essentially saying he's now wanting new lawyers as well, saying that again, as you just heard, hinged on falsehoods. His lawyers, essentially what he said is his lawyers forced him to plead guilty to avoid the death penalty. Now he's changing his plea. It's unclear if he's going to have a public defender or what the next move in this case is. It is going to be something we are going to watch and bring you guys updates on. Alrighty, now to yet another developing story. This one out of Arizona. A difficult update in the case of Nancy Guthrie. She's the 84-year-old mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, who's abducted from her Tucson, Arizona home back in February. The Pima County Sheriff's Department released 2 letters back on Friday that kidnappers allegedly sent to news outlets, hoping someone will recognize the writer's style. The first note demanded $4 million in Bitcoin. The second letter, it was all sent later, told the family Guthrie had died shortly after being taken. Quote, we believe it was heart-related, and that she had been, quote, buried in nature. Take a look as the sheriff out of Pima County, Arizona, provided an update on all of this.
Department released 2 ransom notes. Why now?
Well, really 2 reasons. One, it's out there. People have been, media has covered some of this, and we just saw what was being said and felt like we need to put something out that's really accurate. And this was the time. We felt like, investigators felt like there's a number of pieces of information in these notes that it just might jar someone to say, I've heard that, or the wording, the style of the writing is, might jog somebody to kind of think about who would have written this? How was this done? I think anybody who reads them, my investigators, we look at it, and clearly there's things in there that are very concerning to our investigative team. So we hope that by releasing the actual note, we'll get some response from the community.
Did the Guthrie family know you'd be releasing?
Absolutely.
Now, the Pima County Sheriff's Department has not confirmed if these letters are authentic. The FBI continues to investigate, and there is a $100,000 reward that remains available for information leading to an arrest. So, a story that we are going to keep our eyes peeled to for sure, and we have since the beginning. Since she went missing, if you remember when she went missing, we were bringing you coverage day by day right here on Brookland News Live with the updates. So, expect us to continue to do that. Alrighty, when we come back, well, a big huddle out of the Senate. This all happening with Todd Blanche, of course, President Trump's. Right now, he's the acting Attorney General. Then he became the nominee for Attorney General. Now we're learning that Blanche has rescinded that anti-weaponization fund in written in a written letter exactly what Cornyn and Tom Tillis wanted, the two GOP people that were not really wanting Todd Blanche to vote him forward if he didn't do a few things. We're going to talk more about that coming up, what was within that letter as he rescinded that anti-weaponization fund. What is the anti-weaponization fund, in case you haven't heard of it? When we come back, you're watching Brooklyn News Live. We'll have more on that and so much more coming up on this special 2-hour edition. Stick with us. Apologies for the extended break. We do have some breaking news coming into us right now out of Capitol Hill. We are just learning this information coming right now from the House Ethics Committee on Representative Chuck Edwards. He's the representative out of North Carolina's 11th District, a Republican representative. In a letter or press release, rather, just released seconds ago. This is what the House Ethics Committee is saying.
The department released
Quote,
2 ransom notes. Why now?
Pursuant to House rules, giving exact rules here, it says the chairman of the committee on ethics, Representative Michael Guest, and the ranking member, Representative Mark there submitted a report to the House of Representatives in the matter of allegations relating to Representative Chuck Edwards. It goes on to say the committee therefore has recommended that the House of Representatives adopt the report, and with it a censure of Representative Edwards for the conduct described therein. The committee intends to bring a privilege resolution for consideration and vote by the full House. Now the committee moving around here, reading certain pieces of this. It says the committee concluded there was a substantial reason to believe Representative Edwards violated House rules related to sexual harassment and hostile workplaces. The committee rules provide a process before the committee can recommend that the House of Representatives sanction a member. However, the member can waive any part of that process. So again here, there were allegations of essentially misconduct in the workplace by 2 women. Not only that, but sexual harassment. As you see there, the House Ethics Committee finding that Representative Chuck Edwards did violate that and now recommending a censure. This is all coming into us again just moments ago from Capitol Hill, and this all is a story that we will continue to keep our eyes on as we get more information. Already another breaking story from Capitol Hill. As you can take a live look there, Todd Blanche's path to becoming Attorney General is now becoming even clearer. This all happening after a weekend breakthrough where acting Attorney General Todd Blanche formally rescinded the Justice Department's controversial $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. Now, in a written order Sunday night, the exact written assurance, Republican Senator John Cornyn and Tom Tillis, they had been demanding that for weeks. And before they would support Todd Blanche's nomination. Now, the order states, quote, "This order establishes beyond any doubt that there is no fund," and also clarifies the scope of Trump's IRS settlement is limited to only the plaintiffs involved. Now, the order specifically notes that no fund members were ever appointed, no money was ever transferred, and no claims were ever paid. Now, the language was designed to head off several lawsuits already filed challenging the fund's existence. So we're now just learning both Cornyn and Tillis did release a statement on all of this where they say they are, quote, pleased with the order and, quote, look forward to voting to advance his nomination out of committee soon, with the vote now scheduled for tomorrow. Now, Cornyn's office says the senator has reached an agreement with the Department of Justice after weeks of back and forth that at one point saw Grassley's own Judiciary Committee spokesperson say negotiations were stalled over whether the fund could simply be revived later by a new order. Now, the deal comes days after President Trump threatened to temporarily pull Blanche's nomination altogether rather than concede to the holdouts, saying he'd resubmit it after Cornyn and Tillis leave the Senate in January. Now, both are now seeking re-election, with Cornyn having lost his own Texas primary to a Trump-backed challenger. And just as confusingly, Trump himself suggested over the weekend he'd push Congress to revive the fund, even as his own DOJ was killing it. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, also on the Judiciary Committee, warned fellow Republicans last week that waiting out the holdouts could backfire if the party loses seats in November's midterm, saying, quote, this place could be very different by the time a new nomination comes up. Some Eagle experts here are noting the fund could theoretically be resurrected by a future order down the road. So, and that was what the skepticism that both Tom Tillis and John Cornyn had expressed, is we need some type of written confirmation saying that there is not going to be a future one. There is not going to be a future fund. Now, again, the anti-weaponization fund was essentially going to take the money from $1.8 billion from a settlement that Trump made after he sued the IRS for the leak of his tax returns. The settlement by then Trump's DOJ was going to go to people who were essentially done wrong by the Department of Justice, people who the Trump administration believed had been not treated equally by the Trump Justice Department. So it's a story that we're going to follow. All right, and even more breaking news that we are following this hour, the DOJ is dropping its case against the former Olympian canoeist David Hearn. So take a look at this, some of the footage of the reflecting pool. Prosecutors had accused him of vandalizing the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. Now, we are learning now in a new court filing, prosecutors say the damage resulted from a botched installation by contractor Atlantic. Why to turn here and reverses the case U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro announced with the fanfare last month. Now, Hearn, he was a competitive level canoeist, had faced several federal damage to government property, charges that could have carried significant prison time. Hearn's lawyers had argued from the start that a National Park Service engineer raised concerns about the pool's liner peeling days before his arrest. Now, evidence that apparently persuaded prosecutors to reverse course entirely. Take a look at this. So just moments ago from the White House, when President Trump took questions, he went after Jeanine Pirro, saying he was, quote, disappointed with the work of Jeanine Pirro. It's about a 2-minute soundbite here, or I should say 1-minute soundbite here. Let's play it for you. Here's the president on Jeanine Pirro. Take a listen.
About her decision to drop
No,
criminal
Jeanine
charges.
Pirro made a mistake. It leaked from 1922. It opened in 1922. They never solved the leak problem because it was stone. And the cracks with the stone, it's not a, stone is really not a waterproofing material. We essentially use a very high grade swimming pool type material, which was my idea. I was very proud of that idea. By the way, I didn't know the contractor. Everyone said the contractor. I didn't know the contractor. But when it was completed, it was perfect. But then somebody went in and cut it, just like they did the grass. You know, nobody talks about the grass. The grass have helicopter pictures of what they did. And I was disappointed with Jeanine Pirro. Really disappointed with Jeanine Pirro. She folded like an umbrella, and people get away with things, and it's a disgrace. But we're very proud of Lafayette Park. Now we have a big decision to make. Do we take the pavers that are red, you know, the red brick pavers, and do we change them into a granite?
Now, the president was asked several times, would he now fire Jeanine Pirro? He was asked specifically by an MS Now reporter. He called them fake news, told the reporter to, quote, shut up. He was asked another time. You even heard in the distance there, he was asked by another reporter. He avoided that question. Now, President Trump has publicly, they are rebuking his own U.S. attorney over the reversal of these charges, posting that he, quote, disagrees 100% with Pirro's decision to drop the charges, though he acknowledged their difficulty. The public criticism of Pirro, one of Trump's own appointees, is an unusual move by the president, and legal observers say it underscores how embarrassing the original high-profile arrest has become for the administration now that the underlying evidence has fallen apart. Now, Hearn has not yet commented publicly on whether he plans to pursue any legal action against his arrest. We're going to stick on this story and bring you updates as we get them. Again, the reflecting poll, really, just that drama is continuing. So we'll bring you updates as we get them. Alrighty, Dr. Anthony Fauci, he is now set to face a contempt of Congress vote in the Senate Homeland Security Committee. This all coming later this week after he invoked his Fifth Amendment. As he was asked questions, story we talked about last week, he invoking the Fifth Amendment over 100 times. Take a look at this video from his hearing. Now, the hearing was focusing on COVID-19's origins. Committee Chairman Senator Rand Paul says Fauci's pardon from former President Biden means the Fifth Amendment, quote, doesn't attach, a claim Fauci's attorneys dispute. Now, Democrats on the committee called the hearing a, quote, show trial. This is Rand Paul speaking on Fox News.
Today were completely inadequate, and I think that's certainly an option. How do you feel about I think that's an option that ought to be available to us. What he did today in front of that committee was inexcusable.
I plan on sending it directly with a legal brief supporting the argument to the Department of Justice. This is similar to in the past. I've sent these individually. I've sent a criminal referral on Anthony Fauci twice under Biden and twice under Trump.
Alrighty, we will see what the outcome of that vote is tomorrow and bring you updates as we get them on this story. Alrighty, when we come back, some breaking news over the weekend. F-35B jet crashing on a Marine base. It's all happening in California. We'll bring you the latest on that. Plus the new information we're learning about the bullet shot at the Bite of Seattle Festival shooting. We're going to bring you on that. And Democrats splitting over whether to take a center view or a socialism view. How that is all working out, all as we prepare you for the midterms. We're just less than 100 days away. We've got a preview coming up for you later this hour. Stick with us. You're watching Brookland News Live. Alrighty, now to some breaking news from over the weekend. A Marine Corps F-35B fighter jet crashed and burst into flames at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego Friday, sending smoke billowing for miles and prompting a flood of 911 calls from residents who saw the fireball from across the city. Now, the single-seat aircraft went down short of the runway just before 10 a.m. Pacific time. While attempting to land, the pilot ejected safely moments before impact and was taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Thank God. Airport fire crews sprayed the wreckage with foam and extinguished a grass fire that spread across the crash site, while the base was briefly placed on a lockdown as a precaution. Now, the F-35B is the Marine Corps short takeoff and vertical landing variant of the stealth fighter, one of the most expensive aircraft in the military's fleet, with each jet costing well over $100 million. Now, the Marine Corps says a full investigation into the cause of the crash is now underway, and the F-35B fleet at Miramar has not been grounded while that investigation continues. This marks at least the second F-35 mishap involving a U.S. military branch in recent years, renewing scrutiny of the program's safety records, even as the Pentagon continues expanding its F-35 fleet nationwide. So just something to follow here as this investigation continues, and what things could turn out to be here. What this investigation could show. What exactly was the cause? Was it a mishap by the pilot, or was it a mishap by the plane here? Alrighty, now to a developing story as we are continuing to follow the latest out of Seattle. A major twist here in the deadly shooting at Seattle's Bite of Seattle Festival. A preliminary ballistics testing shows the bullets that killed two bison. Police saw a 15-year-old boy firing into the crowd, according to King County court documents filed Wednesday. Prosecutors charged the teen with first-degree assault and unlawful possession of a handgun. Now, his ghost gun reportedly bore a chilling vanity plate reading, quote, "one shot, one kill." Shell casings recovered at the scene suggest shooters fired 4 separate guns during the gun battle near the Space Needle, but police only recovered 3 firearms, meaning at least 1 weapon, and possibly the shooter who carried it remains unaccounted for as the search here continues. Now, investigators, they now believe the shooting was gang-related, involving 2 groups firing at each other in the crowd at festival. One of the alleged shooters, 19-year-old Junior C. Nico Simo, was among those killed in the exchange of gunfire. A local youth foundation is now offering a $5,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of the outstanding suspect, and the Seattle police say they cannot yet rule out whether the 4th weapon was fired by someone who also died at the scene. Now, all 4 victims who were hospitalized, including a toddler caught in the crossfire, have since been released from the hospital. Thank God that toddler is safe, of course. So, a story that we are going to continue to bring you guys updates on as we get them, as, again, I've said so many times that we've done since the story began. Already now to yet another developing story. The Democrats' party internal fight between its establishment and Democrat socialist wings is intensifying. Heading into the midterms, Representative Steve Cohen of Tennessee says the House Progressive Caucus, quote, had become more the socialist caucus, and he, quote, didn't feel comfortable in it anymore. Meanwhile, Rep. Pramila Jayapal pushed back on Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro for calling some Democrat socialists, quote, performative, asking why progressive wins are treated as a crisis, while moderate wins are called, quote, the blueprint. Here's Andrew Yang. He now owns a phone company, but he's ran for president several times on all of this. Take a listen.
To take that half step that right now Madeline and co aren't taking is, yeah, we're all right about what's wrong, but who is right about how to fix it? We're not having that part of the conversation because you don't need to want to displace the status quo, Madeline. I totally get it. I had like it wasn't a eureka, I'm just old. The 10th time somebody told me exactly what the MAGA people told me about Trump, I got it all of a sudden. When I was talking to another Madeline, and she said, look, I don't like the jihadi stuff. I'm not about that. And I don't like that about him, Zoran Mamdani. But he's right about this. This has to be disrupted. They said the same things to me about Trump. I know he's a bad this, that, and the other. But he's right about this. That's what's going on here. Am I right?
100%. Absolutely. Here's the issue, though, in talking about what James Carville said. We can't afford a schism. We need the numbers. The entire problem has been, for the longest time, that the Democrats have gone after that disaffected 1/3 of Americans who could vote who don't. Right? And those aren't the folks who came out to vote who delivered the election for Trump. It was the swing voters. And so those are the people who the Democratic Socialists are picking up. They're the disillusioned ones who said, my vote isn't going to matter anyways. You're not going to scare me into voting by telling me that Trump is going to make things worse for everybody. But maybe if you could show me a different future, maybe if you could show me things are different. So now we have some momentum to take the power away from Trump. And James Carville, you want to split us up so we don't have the numbers we need? That's a major problem. But I think you guys hit the nail on the head in talking about the underemployment problem, because what the Republicans have done in terms of underemployment is say, that's your fault, Americans, because if you don't like how much you're getting paid, go find another job.
Yeah, you hear that there. Not Andrew Yang, but another analyst there on the Como, which airs on News Nation. So former Democratic presidential candidate and Forward Party founder Andrew Yang has been vocal on this fight, arguing it will be very difficult for Democrats to win control of the Senate if the party leans into its socialist wing rather than the center. Now, Yang has pointed to the party sending figures like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders. Alexandria Cortez, a Democrat, but she leans more on the socialism side of things. Bernie Sanders, same there, yet he's an independent. They've been on the road rallying against, quote, oligarchy as a risky strategy. That's what at least what Andrew Yang says, questioning whether it actually wins over swing voters. The fight is now playing out in real primaries, including Detroit, where socialist-backed state representative Donovan McKinney is challenging Sri Talendar in Tuesday's primary. So it's something that we are going to continue following, of course, as the midterms are ramping up. And we will have continued coverage of the midterms when all of that comes into place. So stick with us for that as well. As you just saw, there were our new transition. There you go, our new midterms transition. So that is coming up on Brookland News Live. We're still going to talk about that. Plus, Best Buy in Jonesboro, it all opened up over late last week. We're going to talk more about that. And now what Brookland police are saying about a man that's going knocking door to door. It's not a bad thing, but what you need to know for Brookland residents if you hear someone knocking on your door. When we come back, stick with us. Brookland News Live continues after the break. Welcome back here in the Brooklyn News Live. Brooklyn police want residents to know who's been knocking on doors around town this summer. The department says a university student from Europe named Merrick is participating in a summer exchange program going door to door to sell educational book and apps for families with children ranging from toddlers all the way up to college prep age. Police say Merrick is legitimate and has already obtained a vendor's permit approved by the city of Brooklyn. The police chief John Moore saying this, quote, "If you are wondering who is going around Brooklyn during the day knocking on doors, it's a university student from Europe. He's doing a summer exchange program selling educational books and app for families with young toddlers all the way up to college prep." Now, this is Merrick, so if you see him, be sure to tell him hello. Merrick is legit and has acquired his vendor permit approved by the city of Brooklyn. He'll be driving a gray Chevrolet Impala, so don't be alarmed. Again, gray Chevrolet Impala. If you see that in your driveway and he's knocking on doors, say hello. Is at least what that's police chief saying for you to do. Brooklyn police say legitimate vendors should always be able to show proof of a city-approved permit if you asked. I want to note your forecast is coming up here in just a moment too, as you take a look live right now at Highway 49. I actually see a police truck there in the first car as we speak about the Brooklyn Police Department in Brooklyn. Alrighty, also happening right now throughout Northeast Arkansas, at least in Jonesboro, Best Buy is making its return. Take a look at some of the video from over the weekend as it opened. It opened on Thursday, more than 6 years after the 2020 EF3 tornado destroyed its original location at Turtle Creek Mall, just a mile away. Now, the electronics retailer cut the ribbon alongside the Jonesboro Regional Chamber of Commerce and its new Highland Square location on Caraway Road, anchored alongside stores like Michael's and Ross. The new store features an interactive electronics showroom, a dedicated Geek Squad tech support counter, and order pickup services on a slightly smaller footprint than the original store, but designed to feel just as full. Now, the general manager, Spencer Vaughn, who actually worked at the original Jonesboro store nearly a decade ago as a home sound lead, is back to run the new location and says he isn't the only returning employee. The store launched a multi-day, quote, Best Buy's Back block party with food trucks, a live DJ, and giveaways. And the first 100 customers through the doors Thursday received free gift cards. Some shoppers drove in from as far as Truman to be among the first in line. Best Buy CEO Corey Berry's chief merchandising officer Jason Bonfig says many of the new store's employees have deep ties to Jonesboro, adding that bringing the store back means more because of that local connection. You're taking a look at video from the first dig of it. You see Mayor of Jonesboro, Copenhagen, speaking there, as well as the DJ and the food trucks there in the distance. People lining up as early as 3 a.m. So quite early to be up. You could see the excitement though, and the band there in also in some of that video. So quite interesting and quite cool to see Best Buy is back for all your electronic needs. Already, right now in Arkansas, this happening at least around 3 counties here in Northeast Arkansas. Bidders will soon have the chance to purchase tax delinquent property across 3 Northeast Arkansas counties. It's all happening in one big event. Arkansas Commissioner of State Lands Tommy Land announced a regional auction for Craighead, Mississippi, and Poinsett counties on Tuesday. So, August 18th, excuse me. This all happening at the Hilton Garden Inn on South Caraway Road in Jonesboro. Registration begins at 9 a.m. Bidding starting not too long after that at 10 a.m. Now, the Commissioner of State Lands Office handles these auctions after property owners fall behind on taxes for 2 or more years, at which point the property is certified to the state and eventually offered for public sale. Property sold at these auctions range from vacant lots to farmland. Occasional residential and commercial parcels also are at these bids sometimes. Now, opening bids typically start at the amount of back taxes, penalties, and fees owed. The State Lands Office encourages anyone interested in bidding to review the full property list online beforehand. Since sales are final and properties are sold as is, former owners typically have a limited redemption window before the sale to pay off what's owed and reclaim their property. So that's all happening in just a few weeks. So get ready for that, and you can visit that website to see all of the information you need to know about these property sales. Already want to get right now to some breaking news. The cyclospora outbreak has turned deadly. Michigan health officials reported the first 2 deaths tied to the outbreak today. Both patients had, quote, significant underlying health conditions that may have been worsened by the infection and dehydration, according to the state health department, which is releasing no further details, at least at this point in time. Now, Michigan remains the hardest hit state with 11,234 reported cases and 193 hospitalizations nationally. Nationally, the CDC says more than 18,000 suspected cases have been reported this season, with 6,707 confirmed so far. Now, here at home in Brookland and throughout Arkansas, cyclospora cases are continuing to rise as well. The Arkansas Department of Health confirmed that reports 92 confirmed cases here statewide, with Benton County accounting for the majority. The increase is partly tied to the ongoing multi-state outbreak linked to the contaminated iceberg lettuce. Though investigators are still working to identify the specific local source, health officials say cyclosporinosis is generally not life-threatening, and fatalities are usually unusual in the U.S. But if you have Taylor Farms iceberg lettuce at home, this is what officials at least are telling you to say: throw it out. See a doctor if you've had ongoing diarrhea for more than a few days. And what's so interesting about this is you could not see symptoms until at least 2 weeks after you could have this contaminated lettuce. So it's a story that we are continuing to keep our eyes on. I already want to get you right now live back in Brooklyn. You've seen the sunny skies. It's time for your hometown, your weather. A live look there. Sunny skies, a few clouds, not too bad at all. Mostly sunny though. As we get you caught up on what your forecast is going to look at these next few days. We're also going to have a look at your forecast coming up in the next hour as well. So you got to stick with us for that. Alrighty. Some clouds in the sky, but mostly sunny as we go into later tonight. Low of 66. It looks like that emoji there is wrong. No rain today, guys. Today's high is going to be 87. By Tuesday and Wednesday, the sunny skies continue. High of 89 and a low of 66 on Tuesday. By Wednesday, high of 91 and a low of 77. The forecast doesn't look too bad at all as we go throughout these next few days. Just hot. Make sure, of course, if you're stepping outside for a long period of time, wear that sunscreen and drink lots of water. It's still going to be hot. Not as hot as it was just a few weeks ago with all that humidity. So it's a great day if you got to get out and run some errands, especially as we go into tonight with the low of 66. That does not sound bad at all. Wednesday, it looks like things are going to heat back up as we see a low of 77. So something to watch as we go through the next few days. Alrighty, we're going to see again another quick break. On the other side of that, the second hour of Brooklyn News Live kicks off. Stick with us. We'll be right back with you.
In a world that never stops, Brooklyn News is always there, bringing you news from Brooklyn.
Now to some news right now in Brooklyn. An increase to your trash pickup could be coming soon.
The nation.
We're going to start first right now with the breaking news and the information that we know.
And the world.
In the meantime, though, we do want to get to the latest on the war in Iran.
Follow Jackson Mitchell and Brooklyn News.
Now, on the second hour of Brooklyn News Live, the economy reacting to the president's actions on the Strait of Hormuz and the latest out of the war in Iran. We have what you need to know about all of that. Plus, we are getting new details on Nolan Wells. He's the child killed on Mississippi's Horn Island weeks ago. The new information we're just learning as the controversy continues in the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. And Anthropic, the AI company that owns Claude, says it hacked into 3 companies. Yeah, the artificial intelligence did all of that. All of that and more coming up right now on Brooklyn News Live. Our coverage starts right now.
It's time for all the news you need and more. Brooklyn News Live starts right now.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Jackson Mitchell. This is Brooklyn News Live. It is Monday, August 3rd. Time now, 3:01 p.m. Welcome into the second hour. A lot to get to. We're not only talking about the stories we just previewed a second ago, we're also getting new information into the former Dallas Cowboys quarterback, Romo. His body camera footage has just been released. We're going to talk about all of that. We are getting new information coming into us right now. This coming out of Wall Street. The market's reacting to President Trump's decision on the Iran war and its grip on the U.S. economy there. So let's talk about it all. Wall Street is rallying today after Trump ordered U.S. forces to hold off on new strikes and signaled a possible deal on the Strait of Hormuz. Now, as of this afternoon, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up. The Dow Jones Industrial is up more than 560 points. That's just about 1.1%. The S&P 500 is up roughly 1.2%. And the tech-heavy NASDAQ is leading the rally, up close to 2% on strong big tech earnings. Now, the biggest mover right now is oil crude prices. Well, they fell off a cliff after this announcement, with the West Texas Intermediate sinking more than 5% to around $79.86 a barrel. And the United States oil fund is dropping 6% on the news here. So the news is all about where things stand with the war in Iran. Give me 1 second here, because the president spoke yesterday on Air Force One about all of this, why he pulled back on the strikes, and this is exactly why everyone's reacting. Take a listen.
So go ahead.
What prompted you to call off the strikes last night?
I was asked to by Saudi Arabia, by UAE, by Qatar, and by Iran. We were all set to go. It's about at this time right now, and it would have been a massive attack. We're all set to go, but when the allies asked to call it off, you got to sort of say, well, let's see. And the reason they asked is they think there's a deal. There's a deal on Hormuz, and then there will be a deal on the nuclear, or you might call it the denuclearization of Iran. I call it the denuclearization of Iran.
So what should we expect?
We're holding it. We'll just see. We can do it anytime we want. But we were asked by the 3 primary groups. We were also asked by Iran, very strongly, actually. They said, we'd like to make a deal. Now, I don't know what they say, because a lot of times they'll say that to me, and then they'll go out and say, we don't know what he's talking about. Obviously, they don't want to be attacked.
So cheaper oil prices, that means less inflation pressure. Now, analysts say it is lifting both value and growth stocks together today, but the relief may be premature here. So it comes just days after 3 Federal Reserve Bank president said the Fed made a mistake holding interest rates by holding interest rates steady, arguing war-driven energy inflation is, quote, a far more serious and persistent issue. Concerning thing to look at there. So those officials, they're all acknowledging that. All 3 dissented in favor of a rate hike, and markets are still pricing in roughly a 65% chance of a hike at the Fed September meeting. Analysts caution today's oil drop could reverse quickly. Iran is already denying Trump's claim that talks are starting today, and the president has announced he's halting strikes before, only to see them resume days later. Again, this has happened multiple times before. Gas prices at the pump remain near $4.11 a gallon. That's the national average. Now, since pump prices typically take days to catch up to crude moves, so we'll be having to watch how that goes. And again, as I pointed out last hour, at the top of the last hour, it is concerning to see that the president several times now has announced that there's going to be a pause, and then days later things pick up once again. So the question again is going to be, how long is this pause going to continue? And it's going to be a story that we are going to stick with and continue to follow. Alrighty, we're going to sneak in our first break of the hour. When we come back, the Milwaukee County Police releasing a new body cam footage giving the first look at former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo's arrest, the DUI that he received. We're going to talk about that, the new evidence we're getting out of Nolan Wells, and some news from the Supreme Court over on mail-in ballots. We'll talk about that. Trump unveiling freedom haulers. I should say FIFA scrapping their investment plan. We got so many headlines to talk about. We're going to keep it going when we come back. You are watching Brookland News Live on this Monday, August 3rd. The coverage continues right after the break. Stick with us. Out of this developing story after Milwaukee County released new body camera footage last week, giving the first look at the former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo's arrest. Now, the video shows Romo telling the deputy he had consumed, quote, 0 drinks before struggling through field sobriety tests and declining a breathalyzer. Deputies said they observed red, glassy eyes and found several empty mini alcohol bottles in his bag. Now, deputies had cited Romo, now a CBS Sports analysis, for first offense operating while intoxicated and refusing a chemical test. He's due in court on September 21st. Let's take this from Fox News here. Let's take a look at the full video with some audio.
Go ahead, dude.
2 back surgeries I need to say. Say it louder, I'm sorry.
Unsafe passing on the right, cutting across the gore. Obviously, the gore?
Yes.
It's the marked area.
Gotcha.
And you were coming from Grandma and Grandpa? What did you say? It's really hard to hear you, dude. All right, okay. Where are you coming from?
The golf course. And I'm going to meet Grandma and Grandpa.
Okay. All right. I'll take a driver's license from you.
You got it. What's your name?
Deputy Core. Willing to take any field sobriety test?
Call my lawyer.
I'm sorry? Yes, you're denying to step out of the vehicle pending field?
I'm just going to call my lawyer.
Okay, step out of the vehicle.
I'm going to call my lawyer.
No, step out of the vehicle.
Yeah. We grab the phone first.
I will, sir. I only have 2 hands. You in all the way?
I'm in, yes. Uncomfortably, but yes.
I know you're a taller fellow.
Yeah.
Go ahead, dude.
2 back surgeries I need to say.
So has he been searched or like petted on check?
Yes,
Okay.
she did.
Okay. Okay.
She did. She's been perfect.
Feet together. Any head injuries recently? Any concussions?
Over the years, yes, but not recently. Am I supposed to move my head or am I supposed to keep it square?
Would you like the instructions one more time, sir?
I think I got it.
When you turn, keep the front lead foot on the line.
Sorry, one second.
And turn by taking a series of small steps with the other foot.
Yep.
I'm going to demonstrate with
Yes,
3.
thank you.
You will do 9, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Machine that you blow in.
It's a preliminary.
It does not determine the results of my
No,
test.
we're not doing that.
Okay.
I've already heard from all the lawyers, don't ever do that.
You've either been arrested for an offense that involves driving or operating a motor vehicle after using alcohol or drugs or both.
So there you go. He was arrested for driving under the influence. So take that as you will. That video released. Tony Romo, of course, former Dallas Cowboys quarterback, now a CBS News analyst. Already in a developing story that we are continuing to follow right here at Brookland News, a significant new evidence has emerged in the death of Nolan Wells, the 18-year-old who died after a 4th of July trip to Mississippi's Horn Island. Sources with direct knowledge of the investigation say authorities have witness accounts and never before seen video showing Wells was still on the island after his friend's boat left around 4:30 p.m. on the 4th. At least 2 separate witnesses told law enforcement they saw Wells on the island as late as 6 p.m., 2 full hours after his friends say they left without him. Footage of the boat being towed back to the mainland that evening shows 7 people aboard, with Wells not among them, raising new questions about the timeline his friends have given investigators since his disappearance. Again, investigators are continuing to suspect drowning, but officials have not released an official cause of death. More than a month later, the family attorney, Ben Crump, has previously pointed to unexplained, quote, red discoloration found in tissue at the back of Wells's head during an independent autopsy. Though advanced decomposition made those findings difficult to interpret definitively, Wells's family continues to push for answers as the case heads towards a grand jury, and this new timeline evidence is expected to be a central part of whatever case prosecutors decide they ultimately are going to build. So you guys know this is another one of those stories that we have continuously brought you guys updates on, and we will continue to bring updates on as we get new information out of this case. Again, new evidence here. I am extremely stoked, but not in a happy way, to hear what is going to happen here, what new evidence they exactly had. I would love to hear some of these witness accounts. Of course, they're likely not going to be released to the public so soon, but I'm very interested to see what might happen here. Alrighty, and ahead of the midterms, President Trump is renewing that push to end mail-in voting and voting machines, asking the Supreme Court to let him enforce a March executive order restricting mail ballots ahead of November's midterms. Now, the order directs federal agencies to build voter eligibility lists and would let the Postal Service reject ballots that don't meet new requirements. A federal judge blocked the order in 23 Democrat-led states, and a divided appeals court upheld that block, warning it would, quote, sow confusion. Now, this fall, if allowed to take effect so close to an election, Trump has provided no evidence of widespread fraud. A 2025 Brookings study found mail voting fraud occurs in about 4 of every 10 million ballots cast, a rate election law experts describe as satisfactorily negligible. Now, Democratic-led states, they are arguing that the Constitution leaves running elections to the states, not the White House, and that the order amounts to an unprecedented federal takeover of election administration just months before voters head to the polls. The justices could rule on the emergency request within the next few days. It's a decision that could reshape how tens of millions of Americans vote this November. Meanwhile, postal workers held a national day of action last Tuesday over separate changes to how the agency processes mail, with Democratic officials warning that ballots are already arriving too late to be counted in some states under the new processing timelines, a problem they say would only get worse if the court sides with Trump. So, a story we're sticking on. We brought to you this story a few weeks ago. Renewed pushes by the Trump administration are now continuing. A quick break. When we come back, Anthropic says its AI models hacked 3 firms, the company behind Claude. We're going to talk more about that coming up as FIFA scraps its investment plan after lots of controversy. More on that when we come back. You're watching Brookland News Live.
In a world that never stops, Brookland News is always there, bringing you news from Brooklyn.
Now to some news right now in Brooklyn. An increase to your trash pickup could be coming soon.
The nation.
We're going to start first right now with the breaking news and the information that we know.
And the world.
In the meantime, though, we do want to get to the latest on the war in Iran.
Follow Jackson Mitchell and Brooklyn News.
Welcome back into Brooklyn News Live. Anthropic, the company behind the Claude AI chatbot, disclosed that some of its AI models gained unauthorized access to the systems of 3 outside companies during security testing earlier this year, none of which realized Anthropic's models had hacked them until the company came forward. The company says a misconfiguration with an outside testing partner left its models connected to the open internet, even though Anthropic had told them they had no such access. The models then used basic techniques like guessing weak passwords and finding unauthenticated endpoints to break into real production systems belonging to the 3 companies, according to Anthropic's own account of the incident. Now, the disclosure comes just 1 week after rival OpenAI, ChatGPT's owners' systems hacked into the tech company Hugging Face, making Anthropic the second major AI company in as many weeks to admit its own models broke into outside systems without authorization. The back-to-back admissions are fueling growing concerns in Washington about how much autonomy today's most advanced AI systems really do they actually have. Congress already introduced an AI kill switch that would require companies to maintain the ability to shut down their models immediately if they start to act outside of their parameters. So it's a story we're going to keep our eyes on. Of course, the future of this nation has to do a lot with AI. At least a lot of people are suspecting that. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. Alrighty, now over to the White House right now, where President Trump announced a new federal initiative called, quote, freedom haulers, aimed at removing non-citizen commercial truck drivers from U.S. roads and replacing them with military veterans. Trump said some states have issued commercial driver's license to drivers he claimed, quote, cannot read basic road signs, calling it a safety road hazard on American highways. Under the program, veterans with military heavy vehicle experience can skip redundant road tests and obtain a CDL within 2 years of leaving active duty using GI Bill benefits to cover the training cost. Here's the president making that announcement earlier last week. Take a listen.
Aliens off the roads today. We're also taking action to replace these unqualified migrant truck drivers with highly qualified American veterans. Under our brand new Freedom Haulers, we call it Freedom Haulers initiative, any American who has driven a heavy truck for our military will automatically be eligible for a commercial driver's license. And it's good paying jobs too. Any veteran with a heavy vehicle experience from the military will now be eligible to skip redundant road tests to obtain a commercial driver's license. We're going to make it as easy as possible for the veterans within 2 years following their active duty service. And for the veterans where you have a situation where you have not truck drivers in the military, where you don't have truck drivers, they're going to be given a very quick pass. We're going to teach them. They're going to learn. If they didn't drive a truck in the military, but they're going to learn, and they're going to learn very quickly, and they'll be licensed in a matter of a few weeks, I think it is. They're going to take about 3 or 4 weeks of training. 34 states have joined this initiative, including Indiana, Wyoming, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, and Maryland are joining us just today. And many of the representatives and leaders from those states are with us. It's actually a very big deal. This is a big deal. We believe that all 50 states and Washington, D.C. should join us in supporting these great veterans. And frankly, some of the states didn't know about it. They heard about it today, and I think they're all going to be signing up. Data shows that truck drivers who are veterans account for 42% fewer accidents. Think of that, 42%. And that number, they say, is a very minimal number, even as they drive the double the number of miles of non-veteran drivers. So to end this, very simply, the radical left wants more jobs for illegal aliens and more migrants in 18-wheelers, and Trump administration wants safer roads and more jobs for the American veteran.
Yeah, now Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says trucking companies have already been reaching out asking how to hire more veterans into the program, pointing to starting pay of $80,000 to $100,000 plus a year as a major selling point for those transitioning service members. The administration frames it as a win-win, addressing a long-standing national trucker shortage while giving veterans a clear path to a well-paying civilian career. Critics, however, argue the program unfairly targets legally working immigrant drivers who hold valid driver's license and overstates the actual safety risk they pose, noting that federal data does not show immigrant drivers are disproportionately responsible for highway accidents. So it's a story that we are going to keep our eyes on as the next few weeks and, of course, years continue here, if this Freedom Haulers plan does work for the White House. Alrighty. Now to this. So FIFA, their president, Gianni Infantino, has abandoned a controversial plan to sell a 20% stake in a new $20 $20 billion rather, company controlling World Cup commercial rights to outside investors, including a firm led by Josh Kushner, who is the son-in-law, the brother of presidential son-in-law Jared Kushner. The plan would have handed private investors a direct financial stake in soccer's biggest global tournament for the first time in the sport's history. It collapsed after all 55 UEFA member countries threatened a coordinated boycott of FIFA governance meetings, and a senior advisor to the president of FIFA resigned in protest over how the deal was being negotiated. Now, UEFA says it has, quote, lost confidence in the FIFA president over the episode, a remarkable rebuke from European soccer's governing body against the man who leads the sport globally. As the FIFA president is now in serious question as a result, with several European federations said to be quietly discussing potential challengers. Now, the episode also renews scrutiny of the Kushner family's growing footprint in global sports and entertainment deals since President Trump took office, with critics questioning whether family ties to the White House played any role in how far the proposal got to collapsing. It's a story we are going to continue to follow right here on Brookland News Live. When we come back, Arkansas now under an emergency electricity order, what it means for you guys all at home. And the Hoover Dam set to reopen here. We'll bring you the latest on that. And we are previewing the midterms. A look right now at Capitol Hill. What you need to know when we come back. You're watching Brookland News Live. Alrighty, welcome back live here in the Brookland News Live as we continue our coverage on this Monday, August 3rd. Jackson Mitchell still with you here as we approach the bottom half of the hour. Arkansas now under an emergency electricity order. Take a look at this. We got what you need to know. It's right now in Arkansas. The U.S. Energy Department named Arkansas among 17 states in an emergency order aimed at preventing blackouts during this extended heat wave. Now, the order allows Little Rock-based Southwest Power Pool to deploy backup generation as a last resort to keep the grid stable. Energy Secretary Chris Ryan says more than 35 gigawatts of backup generation remain available in the nationwide, and Southwest Power Pool, they have not had to deploy those extra resources so far. So now we're under an emergency electricity order as, of course, the summer heat continue. So a story that we are keeping our eyes on and we'll bring you guys updates on. Already and happening now, the Hoover Dam reopens as well. A drought looms. Hoover Dam reopened to visitors last Friday after a 4-day closure to repair its cableway system, which shifted unexpectedly during routine maintenance earlier this week. Now, the landmark, which straddles the Arizona-Nevada border, draws more than 700,000 visitors a year and is one of the most recognizable pieces of infrastructure in the country. The Bureau of Reclamation says the cableway repairs were completed safely and without incident, and visitor tours resumed on their normal schedule starting Friday afternoon. Now, the repair comes as the broader Colorado River system faces a deepening drought crisis that has nothing to do with the cableway, but everything to do with the dam's long-term future. Now, federal officials have warned Hoover Dam's hydropower output could drop as much as 40% as Lake Mead levels continue to fall after years of overuse and below-average snowpack across the Rocky Mountains. The 7 states that rely on the Colorado River, including Arizona, California, Nevada, remain locked in negotiations over a new long-term water-sharing agreement ahead of current operating guidelines that all expire next year, with Hoover Dam's hydropower capacity one of the biggest bargaining chips on the table here. So it's a story that we're going to follow and bring you guys updates on as we get them. Already now to this, a story that I've been previewing all afternoon, the repair the future of this country that we live in. You guys know I'm a big politics person. I mean, the whole first hour was pretty much packed with politics. We're now less than 100 days of out from the midterms. Our full preview right now, if you go to brooklandnews.com, this is what you're going to see, and I want to take you through how it all works, how you can get there. Visit brooklandnews.com, enter it in. You're going to see this. When you go to the website, this is what you will see, and I actually believe I can show you guys this at the top of your screen. This is what it'll show. Watch Brookland News Live weekdays at 2 p.m. So you can watch us live at 2 p.m. Right now we're live today for a special 2-hour edition. You'll see this. This is our newest post right here. You can also see the latest on our social media pages. Make sure to follow us. Alrighty, go to your guide. To the midterms, 2026 midterms, click on it, let it load up. This is really cool what we have done with you here. So first of all, our graphic here, midterms. Okay, I'll go ahead and just kind of read some of this here for you. So our candidates head back to the polls November 3rd for the 2026 midterm election. And for voters in Brookland and the rest of Carroll County, the ballot stretches from the U.S. Senate all the way down to the local school board. Right here in Brookland, you guys were talking about. Now below is a race-by-race breakdown of every contest on the Brookland ballot, followed by a look at the marquee battlegrounds across the country that will decide who controls Washington and the nation's state houses. So look what we've done with these cool graphics that we've been able to get into our website. You're able to see federal races, state races, Cricket County, national ground battle info, and voting info. So say we want to talk about federal races or state races. It's going to scroll you down straight to state races, and you see all of them. And this is weeks of research that I've done. So each of the boxes, when you click on it, they have a little bit of a paragraph or 1 to 2 sentences on exactly what is going on in that race. So for the governor's race, Governor Kirby Sanders, who's running for a second term. In this case, it says Sanders is seeking a second term after winning her first back in 2022. Love, a state senator from Little Rock, won the Democratic nomination back in March. Arkansas has not elected Democratic governor since 2010 when Mike Beebe won re-election. So there you go. You see every paragraph. So first of all, I want to specifically get to the battleground races. So go to National Battlegrounds. It'll take you straight there. DDHQ. If you guys have watched Brooklyn News Live, Brooklyn News for any sort of time, you guys know I love DDHQ and I follow them very closely with their results and things like that. And you can see their 2020 forecast right there. So 50 Democrats are favored to win the House, and Democrats or I should say Republicans are favored, to win the Senate. So as polls come in, if you go over to votes.decision.shq.com, they're updating that list. But what's cool about this is we are able to take a look at every single one of these boxes and all of the seats that need to be watched, could be a toss-up. So toss-up means they are leaning further toward a battleground territory, but there's not quite an idea as to where that race stands, if that makes sense. So no polls have come out that show it leaning in any which way. Watch is like below that. That means it could be a flip up, but maybe not at the same time. So toss up means it's more likely to change than watch, if that makes sense. I'm trying to explain this in the best way I can. So then we have where polls have come out. So the lean Democrat in New Hampshire, this is where we've seen polls where we have seen different information that points us in a specific direction. So in New Hampshire, an open seat after Senator Jeanine Shaheen's retirement, Democratic Chris Pappas faces Republican Chuck Morse with the up ballot governor's race also drawing national attention. So that's for the U.S. Senate. So we've got the House, and there's not a lot of polls out just yet in the House, but we're going to keep watching that, and we're going to update. We're probably going to have another term preview as we get closer to it. So in Texas, leaning Republican. This is a big race that we've been watching because James Tallarico, the Democrat, is running in this race. No Democrat has won statewide in Texas in more than 30 years, but the race is drawing unusual national money and attention. Democrats have really, I would argue for decades, have said they're trying to win Texas and turn Texas blue. So this is these races to watch. We've also got the governor races. Look at this, a likely flip. So this means we have gotten not direct polling, but information that could show us that there is likely going to be a flip up in this race. And the big races are usually the races that are where a governor is retiring, a governor can't take another term, stuff like that is usually when we're watching for. I want to go up to the Senate right now. We're in Maine. Okay, this is that big one, and I wanted to advance our coverage on this because this is something that we've covered so closely right here on Brooklyn News Live. I wanted to advance our coverage just a little bit. Here, so on Maine, we got a read more button, and it goes into the race. Of course, Maine is where originally Graham Plattner was running as the Democratic nominee. Then major allegations, including of rape and sexual assault, came. We changed it just a little bit here. The race changed a little bit here because now you have an entire new candidate running here. So again, Graham Plattner, he won the Democratic primary, and now again, Plattner suspending his campaign, formally withdrew back in mid-July. And Troy Jackson, a former state Senate president from Aroostook. I remember when I was typing this, I was like, I have no clue how to pronounce that. Aroostook County, running as a progressive in his own right. He won all but 5 of the 571 votes cast and became the new Democratic nominee there. So read more. If you ever see a read more button on one of these, click it. It means there's more to know about the race than just this, because this doesn't have all of the drama that came. So right now, go to brooklandnews.com. At the bottom, we also, this was something I was like, okay, I have to note about all this redistricting. I have to put it somewhere in this story. So I put it in a box at the bottom of the U.S. House races, saying, quote, control of the House will be decided on unusually Trump-friendly turf because of mid-decade redistricting fights in Texas, California, Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio, and several other states. Both parties have redrawn maps aggressively in their own favor, offsetting many of the gains either side hoped to make. Analysts say House Republicans are defending the far fewer Trump won narrowly seats than is typically heading into a midterm, meaning Democrats will need to compete on tougher ground than in the past wave years like 2018 to retake the chamber. So again, really just a lot going on there, and I wanted to make sure you guys were all caught up to date on where these races stood. So again, go right now, brooklandnews.com. I'll show you guys how to do it again. So at the top, I'll go to the reset our page. So in your web browser, brooklandnews.com, enter that in directly. The first story, your complete guide to the midterms. This is again something that I've been working on for the last few weeks. You go there, you have your complete guide. So again, this is not just, you're able to click. So say I don't really feel like looking at the federal races, I want to go straight to state. You can do that. Not only, and I want to note this, we also have races. So like this is not on the ballot this year. District 19 and 20, they're not up for ballot, but we put it there just so you would know who represents Carter County, what's going on there. And then I believe we also have, I'm trying to remember, it's in county right here. So these three people, they are uncontested, meaning they're going to go forward. We still put it there to let you know what's going on and those things. If you're wondering, okay, county judge, tax assessor, the treasurer, what do we have going on there? Want to provide an update on that, so you can go there right now. brooklandnews.com is the place to be for your midterms coverage, and we will update you guys on all of that ahead of the midterms. And we've got this new graphic, which I just love clicking the button to use it. One more time, you guys. We're preparing for the midterms, you guys. Okay, so a lot going on there. We are going to stick at a quick break. When we come back, a team lifeguards rescue now going viral. We're going to show you the video plus the father of the man that was saved by this 16-year-old lifeguard. He's now speaking out. We're going to bring you up to date on that story. Plus, we have got an update to the Jonesboro Spider-Man. He's now heading to Hollywood for the Spider-Man debut. And RFK Jr. launching a cooking show. Plus, one of your favorite apps, at least for millennials, MySpace could be coming back. What that is all about. It wasn't in my lifetime, but maybe yours. We'll be back here in just a moment. Stick with this. You're watching Brookland News Live.
In a world that never stops, Brookland News is always there, bringing you news from Brooklyn.
Now to some news right now in Brooklyn. An increase to your trash pickup could be coming soon.
The nation.
We're going to start first right now with the breaking news and the information that we know.
And the world.
In the meantime, though, we do want to get to the latest on the war in Iran.
Follow Jackson Mitchell and Brooklyn News.
We'll take a look at this, the rescue of a 16-year-old lifeguard now going viral out of California, and he's even earning the hero status nationwide after a dramatic rescue by caught by a bystander on camera. Ryder Williams battled 8 to 10 foot waves at Santa Cruz's Seabright State Beach to save 10-year-old Nathaniel, a Dallas boy who lost his footing in a powerful rip current that knocked him unconscious. Quote, another 2 or 3 seconds. I don't think my son would have made it, the boy's father said. Now, President Trump has publicly invited Williams and Nathaniel to Washington for a civilian bravery honor. Now, the father of the kid saved in this video is now speaking out. Take a listen.
I'm just grateful that he's alive, and it's miraculous.
Joining the chorus of praise for that heroic moment.
I'm beyond grateful and forever grateful to Ryder.
Ryder is the son of a firefighter and a marine science researcher, plus he grew up in the community of Santa Cruz. So his dad says he was born to do this.
Just wow, glad to see it. That boy is okay. Already down to this out of Jonesboro. Jonesboro's own friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is back from Hollywood. Christopher Hellenthal, known online as NEA Spidey, attended the world premiere of Spider-Man, A Brand New Day in Los Angeles after Sony Pictures invited him following his viral act of kindness, even rubbing shoulders with actor Tom Holland and the rest of movie cast on the red carpet. The 20-year-old who lives in Lake City, east of Jonesboro, told the Associated Press he, quote, had a bunch of adrenaline pumping through him during the original rescue. Traffic cameras caught him still in the costume from a superhero-themed event at Ultimate Air Trampoline Park where he works, helping a man in a wheelchair cross a busy Jonesboro intersection just seconds before the light change. Now, the clip has racked up hundreds of thousands of views and even landed Hellenthal a call from Good Morning America, something he says caught him completely off guard while he was simply driving down the road. Hellenthal, whose connection to the Spider-Man character goes back to meeting creator Stan Lee at a comic convention when he was just 8 years old, says the moment wasn't planned or part of any promotional stunt. He says he would have helped regardless if he was wearing the suit or not. Despite the Hollywood trip, Hellenthal says he hasn't forgotten where he came from and has spent time since the viral moment visiting Children's Hospital around Northeast Arkansas. He says he hopes his story encourages others to do the right thing, even when no one is looking. Wow, such an incredible story there by the local Spider-Man.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary. Welcome to the Real Food Show. Thanks to President Trump, we flipped the food pyramid and put real food back where it belongs, at the center of the American plate.
Well, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has a new side gig as a cooking show host. Kennedy launched, quote, the Real Food Show, last week. A White House-backed online series teaching low-cost, real food recipes alongside celebrity chefs as part of his Make America Healthy Again dietary guidelines push. Now, the first episode featured crispy salmon cakes. Critics note the launch comes amid reports Kennedy has shown little interest in his department's day-to-day work. So, interesting there, a new cooking show by RFK Jr., the Health and Human Services Secretary. Already started, we're going to continue to follow. Okay, this is another one. I have not been around since the launch of MySpace, or I should say the end of MySpace. That was not during my time at any point in time that I would ever use that social media app. But we're learning that it could be making a comeback, okay? So, I had a little bit of help writing this story, writing this portion that I'm fixing to read to you guys. I had a little bit of assistance about how all this works, and I had to do a little bit of research to see how MySpace exactly worked. Okay, so remember your top 8? MySpace's owners, brothers Chris and Tom Vanderhook, confirmed, you hear the music there in the background, confirmed in Tommy Avallone's new documentary simply titled MySpace, that they are planning to relaunch the once dominant social network. Quote, we still own MySpace. We are stewards of the MySpace brand at this point, and we are going to relaunch MySpace, Chris Vanderhook said, adding they are, quote, waiting for the right time. Now, no launch date or details have been announced at all, and the comeback would move forward without original co-founder Tom Anderson, who sold the company back in 2005 and isn't expected to be involved this time around. Now, this wouldn't actually be the first comeback attempt. The Vanderhook brothers first bought MySpace back in 2011 in a deal that kicked off with an unusual gambit. They issued a fake press release claiming pop star Justin Timberlake had joined their acquisition team before they had even spoken to him. That first relaunch ultimately fizzled. Quote, we really tried to modernize it, but it was a different company at that point. It wasn't the same MySpace, Tim explained in the new documentary, noting that the site had already burned through 4 different sets of management and CEOs by the time they took over. This time, the brothers say they want to build something that feels different from today's algorithm. driven social platforms, which many users complain are designed purely to encourage endless scrolling rather than genuine connection. Quote, and if that one doesn't work, we'll do it again, Tim said. So really, really interesting. MySpace says it could be making its comeback once again. A quick break. When we come back, we'll have a second look at your forecast. Let us know how you feel about MySpace's comeback. Your forecast is up next as we will leave you off for this break. A live look in Brooklyn. Stick with us. You're watching Brooklyn News Live. Welcome back here into Brooklyn News Live as we are wrapping up our coverage on the second hour here as we continue a big day of news. A lot has happened today. Big Trump taking questions and in the Oval Office for over an hour earlier. We know on Wednesday he is expected to deliver a speech in Las Vegas. He's traveling to Las Vegas. He's expected to deliver a speech. We're going to be monitoring that. It's happening Wednesday night. We will not be on the air for that, but we're going to monitor it. So we know that is going to be happening. We are also following tomorrow's primaries happening in Michigan, Missouri, Kansas, Washington. Big races to watch. I know some of the big news orgs are doing coverage of that, so I am actually going to be monitoring those races and am considering to bring you guys coverage if needed here. So stick with us for that. Tomorrow's August 4th primaries. Lots of races to watch there. Big battleground races. Again, midterms preview over on brooklandnews.com. Cannot say it enough. I've done so much research. So I really want you guys to read some of that. Alrighty, it is time for your hometown, your weather. Let's get you a live look again in Brooklyn. We did this last hour. Sunny skies continue. A few clouds in the sky. Nothing too bad at all, though. As we go into tonight, things don't look too bad at all, you guys. It's going to be 66 degrees overnight. 89 degrees tomorrow. And then the high for Wednesday's 91. It's getting hotter, but not bad at all. So today's high, that was 87 degrees. It's hot, but it's not too bad as we've seen here in Arkansas. So Tuesday, mostly sunny skies continue. High of 89, low of 66. By Wednesday, high of 91 and a low of 77. So temps, at least a low, rising by 10 degrees there. Tomorrow, as we continue to follow your forecast. Alrighty, we are going to sneak another quick break in. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show. You're watching Brooklyn News Live. We'll be right back here in just a few moments. Well, stick with us here.
In a world that never stops, Brooklyn News is always there, bringing you news from Brooklyn.
Now to some news right now in Brooklyn. An increase to your trash pickup could be coming soon.
The nation.
We're going to start first right now with the breaking news and the information that we know.
And the world.
In the meantime, though, we do want to get to the latest on the war in Iran.
Follow Jackson Mitchell and Brooklyn News.
Welcome back to Brooklyn News Live. A look at some of the feeds that we are watching right now. A live look there in Brooklyn. That Ardent camera there, courtesy to them. Then we've also got the White House, Capitol Hill that we're watching. Again, the big primaries tomorrow. Let me see. I know it's in Washington, Virginia, Missouri, Kansas, Michigan. So Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Virginia, Washington. That's all of the big elections. I'm going to do some research what to watch here. We'll have more on that on tomorrow's show. Want to note here that we will be here tomorrow at some point. I have something to attend at 1 p.m. And then after that, I'm not quite sure when I'm going to be available again. So I know I'm going to have a meeting at 1 p.m. and I am going to do the show after that. So as soon as the meeting's over, I'm going to come back here, get on the camera, get ready to go. So at some point tomorrow, we will have a show for you. Alrighty, I appreciate all of you for joining us throughout the last 1 hour, 58 minutes and counting there. We'll be back here tomorrow. Again, I don't know. It might be after 2, might be right at 2, might be 3. I don't know. We're going to be with you here at some point tomorrow. Stick with us for that. Thank you for joining us in the meantime, though, and have a great rest of your Monday. Stay safe out there, you guys. Join us again tomorrow.